The first boss from any game will teach you the mechanics and what to expect from those games. For example, we have Sekiro's first mini-boss. He teaches you must parry, the posture system, and that bosses or mini-bosses may have one or more health bar. So you expect that each boss you encounter in Sekiro will have one or more health bar. So I will be ranking these bosses by difficulty from easiest to hardest. Disclaimer, I will not be including any scripted fights where you must lose, and I will not include any mini-bosses in Sekiro. Starting off at the number 7 spot with the Silent Demon. You start off with a plunging attack which deals a lot of damage to him. You can avoid most attacks by sticking behind him or close to him. Most of his attacks are just sweep attacks, which is really easy to avoid. If you stick behind him for too long, he will use his wings to fly up and do a big slam to the ground, which is easily punishable. He's very large and slow, so avoiding his attacks ain't really a big problem, even as a new player. The only thing tricky, he has some delayed attacks, which can be a bit of trouble. Moving on to number 6 with the last giant from Dark Souls 2. He is found in the Forest of Fallen Giants. His main attacks are just foot stomps. He deattaches his arm after 50% of his health is gone, and then he just keeps slapping you around afterwards. He is a giant, so most of his attacks are slow and easily telegraphed. He is weak to dark, but you most likely won't even have a dark weapon by then, so there's really no point. And he remembers you from beating him in the memory. Moving on to the number 5 spot with the Phalanx from Demon Souls. The main boss itself is one big blob with many small blobs around it. The small blobs have spears and shields, so attack head on is a bit difficult. The big blob itself does not hit you or has no way of attacking you. So the main threat is small blobs, which is not even a big threat because the fire bombs you collect throughout World 1 easily destroys the blobs. And you hit the big blob with them. The small blobs can actually respawn. The big blob generates health over time. Moving on to number 4 spot with the beast that did the really loud screech at the beginning of the game, the Cleric Beast. The Cleric Beast doesn't really have that many attacks. He has the grab attack. He has also 4-hit combo, which I found a bit difficult to actually avoid. He can go up in the air and air slam to the ground. I found parrying to be a bit tricky. I can't really parry with the beast bosses. Like Father Gascoigne, he's hunter form, I can perfectly parry. When he goes to his beast form, I can't parry a single thing. He is a beast, so using the Soul Cleaver, which is probably the best early game weapon, or just in general, you can use it throughout the whole game. Deals 20% more damage, making it even easier. Moving on to number 3 spot with Ludwig's Gundyr from Dark Souls 3. At first he's not active, he's just stationary, but when you remove the coil sword from him, he becomes active, and it's a boss. But while removing said coil sword, you can actually deal some damage, which will help. The first phase is pretty easy to manage with some sweep attacks with his halberd, and a grab attack which depletes half of your health. Second phase, where Gundyr sprouts Pulse of Man, and this is where it really gets difficult to manage. He becomes a full-on beast from Bloodborne. He just keeps jumping around, and I can't even see what's happening, and he's just always up in the air, hitting me with his halberd, and he's this Pulse of Man head thing. I don't know what that is. But what really helped are the firebombs you collect in the Cemetery of Ash. They do really well against them, and I think they're necessary to beat it. I don't really think it's necessary, but it really does help. I'm pretty sure you can actually parry him, but parrying in Dark Souls 3 is impossible. Just any Dark Souls or Demon Souls, and even Elden Ring is just pretty hard by itself. Moving on to number 2 spot, it's...
My name is Kyobu Masataka Oniwa!
Himself with his name and who he is, you can get some damage in. It is a horseback fight, so it is difficult, in my opinion. Why? Because I hate when something is faster than me and can just run away from me. Thankfully in this game you have a grappling hook, so the running away part you can really close in the distance. Firecrackers easily stuns the horse and can get a lot of damage in. He has a spear, so deflecting it isn't the easiest, but it isn't the hardest. You had 4 mini bosses before him, so you had already a lot of practice with the game mechanic and stuff. You still haven't mastered it, but you have a good idea on what to do. But it is kind of a long time until you fight your first boss, actual main boss who increases your attack power, isn't it? And can someone tell me Robert's firecrackers? Is that the same Robert that the armored warrior or knight, I don't even know what's his name, the guy that threw off the roof or like the bridge? Is that his son? And finally, at the number 1 spot, you have Margit the Fell Omen. You fight 2 main bosses before him. You have the scripted fight at the beginning, which I said I will not count. And you have the optional boss of Tree Sentinel. You know, everyone's first boss in this game. And it's optional, I shall not count it, so you can just skip right over it. But it made most people quit. A lot of beginners hate the game, say Dark Souls is too hard, or Elden Ring is really hard. But Margit was even more controversial. It was really hard upon release. Like, damn, it was really hard. Like, in my first time beating it, I couldn't beat it alone, so I had to use summons, of course. But second time through, I was a big man now. I was able to fight it alone. You find in Stormvale Castle, his main weapon is a staff, which is yet again like a piercing type of weapon. He has many delayed attacks, and that's the main problem with him. I say main problem with the game, they just have so many delayed attacks. And adding insult to injury, every time you try to heal, he will most likely just gonna throw a few daggers at you. So you can't even heal properly. Second phase, he summons 2 new weapons. A hammer, which is like, it's a slow moving weapon, so it's easy to punish. And a sword, which is quick and I usually get hit by it. You can use Margit's shackles that you can get from patches to stun him, but I really didn't know that existed until doing some research. And that was my ranking for the first main bosses ranked by difficulty. Let me know down below what was the first tutorial or main boss that gave you the most trouble.